The Sportscast, November 4th, 2020. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, and iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. We're also on online radio. You can listen to our online radio broadcast on our website or on the Sportscast app. And you can download the Sportscast app on the iOS App Store. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1. We have the latest in news, college football, NFL, and anything else that's breaking in the world of sports. This episode is brought to you by the Sportscast app. You can download the Sportscast on the iOS App Store. You can see our latest podcast, our news stories, our latest and greatest, and find out the latest notifications of anything breaking. This week is the Pac-12. It begins this week, and I like to call this week is Pac-12 week at the Sportscast. A lot going on. It is the last, the very last major college football conference beginning this weekend. The SEC, Big Ten, Big 12 have all started. ACC as well has started already about a couple of weeks in, maybe a month or two in. And this week we're previewing the Pac-12, a conference up in the Pacific Northwest or in the West Coast. It goes all the way from Washington State to Arizona, California, you name it. And today we have a special guest, a person that I found on Twitter, very popular when it comes to the Pac-12, is Mr. Ken Doepel. He runs a website, which I'll actually have him talk to you all about it. Kent, welcome back to the Sportscast.
Hey, thankful to be on and thankful to be talking Pac-12 football again.
West Coast CFB college football. Tell us about your website and what is it all about?
Yeah, so our website is West Coast. Check it out. We have a lot of great Pac-12 Mountain. It's a free website. It's I think it's now the largest website that is free that covers. There's a lot of paywalls these days. We don't do that to you. Free content for our readers and listeners on our podcast. There's great content that'll break down. You can find out a lot about your team and the other teams in the conference just going by our site. So, with Pac-12 football starting up in just a few days now, definitely check out the website, westcoastcfb.com, and, you'll definitely get a good rundown of what to expect this season.
And that's right. You guys also follow other conferences like the Mountain West Conference and the Big Sky, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we do. So if you're a Mountain West fan, Big Sky fan, check us out as well. A lot of great content there going to. Check us on Twitter at West Coast CFB. A lot of great stats and analysis going on there. So definitely give us a follow and check out the content. We hope you like it.
Definitely a great website. I checked it out today. Very simple and clean. I'm a web developer, so I do like clean websites, just like yours.
Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely wanted to keep it just kind of eye clean. Just provide just the content people are looking for is just football, so we're providing that football for them. And again, it's a free site, so for me at least, it's frustrating when you're trying to you end up having to pay for a million different sites these days. Everyone has a paywall. So it's like, here you are trying to follow, the conference as a whole, but all these different websites for different teams have paywalls and things like that. So it makes it tough. And so we decided to be that place that people can come for free and just really get that information and quality information.
That is my business model when it comes to internet business. Have things for free, but have some type of premium down the road somewhere. And of course, has to be very special, valuable. But we'll talk about internet businesses a little bit later on the podcast. The Pac-12 begins this weekend, Kent. A lot going on. Before we go on to each team, how do you feel about it entering this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think that from what we've seen in other conferences, there's been a lot of upsets. I think that with how teams are having to practice and prepare for this season, and players opting out and things like that, I don't think that it's harder to feel as knowledgeable exactly about what's going to happen with how these teams have had to adapt this year. So I think that it's going to be a really fun weekend, and I think that we could see some pretty big upsets.
Let's begin with the South of Pac-12 with the Utah Utes. They made a impressive run last season. They made it to the Pac-12 championship. Tell us, what are we going to look at Utah for this season?
Yeah, Utah. I think Kyle Whittingham is just one of the best coaches in the Pac-12, if not the best. So, they lost a lot off their defense. I mean, I think they lost 9 stars on their defense from last year, which was an outstanding defense. They just have got to a point where they reload more than rebuild. So, even with the losses on defense, their offense is looking really good this year. I think that they're a really tough team to beat, especially in Salt Lake City. So, that's a team, kind of a dark horse in the Pac-12 to maybe come out with the Pac-12 South title championship. I would never count them out just based on their style of play. They're very physical, very good defense. In a short season, they have a great chance to kind of pull out the Pac-12 South.
Utah Utes in the picture, and hopefully that will go well because they had a good run. Love to see a new team like that in the Pac-12 emerge. Let's go to Arizona. How do you see Arizona for this season?
Yeah, unfortunately for Arizona, I think that there might be some struggles here. They do have a very talented quarterback, though, and they actually do have some pretty good pieces on offense. I think that Gary Brightwell is a very talented runner. And then their defense, it's struggled for the past few years, but when I was looking at their depth chart, they have some really big bodies along the D-line that they haven't had in the past. So, maybe we see an improvement on defense, and I think that their offense with Grant Gunnell could have some potential. So while it kind of projects to be maybe a bit of a struggle, I think, maybe 1-5, 2-5 season, for all we know, if they can get the right defense going, they might be able to pull out some games and pull some upsets.
Let's go on to Colorado, the Colorado Buffaloes. They hired a new coach this season, Carl Dorrell in late February. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Colorado. How well will they do this season?
Yeah, I think they might be the biggest unknown in the Pac-12. Their defense actually impressed me at the end of last year. They started playing pretty well. This year, I don't see them as being a super talented team. I would probably have them either, it's them or Arizona, probably the bottom of the Pac-12 South. But, I mean, if they can capitalize on what they were doing at the end of last year, then maybe they can surprise some people as well. So I wouldn't count them out just yet, but, they definitely might be a long year for them as well.
Also has a great home field advantage, playing in a high altitude, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, Folsom Field is a really, really cool environment. I've loved my trips down there. It's one of the coolest places you can see a game with the view, and just the atmosphere in the city itself is really, really cool. I definitely recommend that as maybe the best road trip in the Pac-12. So if people wanted to check something out, definitely go there for a game. And yeah, the altitude can make an impact on teams. It's not always the easiest thing to do, to go play at that high of an elevation.
Now let's go to California. Our first California team we'll talk tonight, UCLA. And a lot of people connect UCLA with Chip Kelly, very famous. He used to coach for Oregon. Tell us about this team and how well will they do this season?
Yeah, UCLA, I actually thought when they hired Chip Kelly that it was a home run hire, that they were going to become a very, very good program. So I was shocked when they haven't done that well the past few years. They have a talented quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think that Demetric Felton is a very talented runner. So excited to see what he can do. They have some, they recruit well. They haven't recruited as well under Chip Kelly as they did under Mora. But they might be able to surprise us. They've been young the past few years. I still think they're going to be fairly young this year, a lot of sophomores and juniors. But, I think that they could make that step. But my initial thought was kind of middle of the Pac-12 South, middle Pac-12 team. But again, they could surprise as well.
UCLA, of course, is a team to look out. Let's go on to Arizona State. Of course, a lot of people reference them with Herman Edwards, who used to coach with the Jets. He did well with Arizona State last year, which they beat Oregon. Do you think they'll have a good run this year?
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about Arizona State. And actually one of the games I'm most excited about this weekend, if not most excited about, is that Arizona State-USC game, 9 a.m. Pacific time on Fox. That's going to be a really good matchup. I think that game, these are the two contenders for the Pac-12 South. So winner of that game is going to have the inside track on winning that Pac-12 South title. Jaden Daniels is very good. Keaton Slovis at USC also very good. I mean, this is going to be an amazing game. If they can pull that one out, then ASU has a great chance for a special season. And like you said, I mean, they beat Oregon last year, and they may end up playing Oregon again in the Pac-12 title this year. And based on last year, you can't count them out. So definitely a great chance at winning the Pac-12 title this year.
Definitely curious how well they do this season. I know they had a good run, and hopefully we'll see if they repeat it again. Herm Edwards, I'm a fan of him, and hopefully he'll continue his endeavors at Arizona State. Let's go on to USC. A lot of the pundits are saying that they're their favorite in the South, potentially going to the championship game. They have a great recruiting system, great. I can't say great recruiting class. I mean a good recruiting class. Tell us, what do you see for USC this season?
Yeah, I actually think USC is the best roster in the Pac-12, top to bottom this year. So, I mean, they brought back so many great players from last year. To me, the only real question is more so on the coaching side of things. I think that if you were to simply just match up teams in the Pac-12 with no coaching, then I think USC is the team to beat in the Pac-12. Clay Helton, I think everyone's been thinking like, it's hard to know exactly where he stands, kind of an up and down there. But I do like his hires. I think that Graham Harrell is an amazing offensive coordinator. He also made a good defensive coordinator hire this year as well. So to be honest, I mean, I think that they might be the best team in the Pac-12 this year, and I just don't know if they have the coaching to get them all the way to winning the title. But that would be my pick actually for the Pac-12 South champion.
Which we'll be making predictions towards the end of the show of the standings and who will be in the Pac-12 championship. So get ready for that.
Okay.
Let's go up a little bit north near your area. The Cougars. Washington State. What do you have to say about them?
I like their hire of Nick Rolovich. I do think it's going to be a little bit of a rebuilding season. I think that Leach is a great coach. Losing him is not easy. But I think that Nick Rolovich did a good job hiring Jake Dickert from Wyoming. He's a really good defensive coordinator. I think it's just 1 year. I think that first year is going to be a little bit rough. Kind of a middle-of-the-road Pac-12 team is kind of my initial impression. They did some good pieces. But they did have some transfers this year too, so definitely watch out for Max Borghi, one of the best players in the Pac-12. He's definitely special. Maybe my most favorite player to watch. Great athlete, can catch the ball out of the backfield, can also run really well. They're actually going to be starting a freshman at quarterback, Jaden Delora, so that'll be fun to watch. But usually a freshman isn't going to win you a ton of games, so I think it's going to be a bit of a rebuilding year, but definitely excited to watch their style of play.
The post Mike Leach era. Let's go on to Oregon State. Here at the Sportscast, we were going back and forth with a few Oregon State fans on Twitter. What do you have to say about them?
I think that they surprised some people last year. I think that Jonathan Smith has been a surprisingly good hire. I think that he's done good things there. So they had a really good quarterback last year in Jake Luton, who actually is going to be starting for the Jaguars this week. So we have to see how they adapt to losing him, because he made their offense really good last year. Defense, struggled at times. So I think that they have some really good. They also have one of the fastest teams in the Pac-12. People may not realize that, but when they had their player combine back in March, they had like 5 guys run sub 4.4. So they have a ton of speed actually at wide receiver, and even at running back too. So definitely watch out for them, and they could surprise some people, and they'll have some really good deep threats this year. And Champ Flemings is really fun to watch. He's like 5'5", 140 pounds. So if you're not you normally watch Pac-12 football, but definitely tune into an Oregon State game this year, and it's always fun to watch a guy who's 5'5" run down the field and catch some balls, and he's pretty good.
Let's go to the Huskies, very competitive team in the Pac-12. Where do you have them? Where do you have them? For this season.
Yeah, Huskies. I think that I them as the second best Pac-12 team behind. Um, but having a coaching change, and I think Peterson, I think a little bit rough for them. New offensive coordinator with John Donovan. So, I mean, I wasn't very impressed with his tenure as OC. Higher for sure. Defense, it should be either the best or second best defense in the Pac-12. Offensively, big question marks at quarterback. That'll probably be just how well they can play at quarterback. If they get good quarterback play, I mean, they have a chance at winning the Pac-12 North. With mediocre QB play, then they're going to need to just rely on handing the ball off and hoping that their offensive line can kind of get some running lanes going. If not, I mean, it might be kind of a mediocre season for the Huskies. So they have could be a mediocre to a high ceiling team, I'd say.
Let's go on to the Oregon Ducks. Definitely the top two favorites in the Pac-12. Of course, this is a team that is not with Justin Herbert, but it's still a very good team. Their defense and everything. Tell us about Oregon Ducks. Will they make a good run this year?
Yeah, Oregon a mix of talent plus coaching. We mentioned earlier they have a great talent, but the coaching kind of feels like a question. Oregon, Mario Cristobal has made amazing hires. Joe Moorhead was amazing at Penn State as offensive coordinator. Andy Avalos was great as defensive coordinator at Boise State, and then now is doing really well at Oregon. They did lose Justin Herbert, and it's been fun watching him play on Sundays. So that is, I think, the big question mark around the Ducks is, how can they do a quarterback this year? But every other piece on offense and defense feels pretty special. They did have some opt-outs at DB, so that will be interesting to watch. But I think that their defense is probably going to be the best in the Pac-12, and they are definitely, to me, the best option for the Pac-12 to make the playoff this year.
Oregon Ducks are definitely a favorite here at the Sportscast. Let's go to Stanford. Not only intellectual, but also a good college football team. Tell us about this team and how deep can they go in the Pac-12?
Yeah, so I think Stanford, to me, actually, I think that what's kind of frustrated me to watch over the past few years is they had a great brand to play when they were just the physical team in the Pac-12 that was running the ball and using their tight ends and running backs and O-line just to dominate teams. It seems like once they hired Tavita Pritchard as OC, they started tossing the ball around a lot, and once they started throwing the ball all the time, their wins started just decreasing the more they would throw it. So I think they need to get back to what made Stanford great, which is just being that big physical running team. If they can get back to that kind of brand, I think that they can be special, but I think that their style of play they're trying to play with being the passing team, they don't really have like the skill on the outside of the offense to be that team. They need to just, have that kind of niche similar to Utah where you're just the physical running team. And I think that is really impactful in the Pac-12 as well, because a lot of teams are a little smaller on defense. So if you can be that big team, I think that's a huge advantage. But they're talented. They're one of the better recruiting teams in the Pac-12. Great coach in David Shaw. So they could sneak up on some people. And the game against Oregon this Saturday, I think we'll definitely get a kind of idea of just how good they are.
That'd be a great game to start off the Pac-12. California Bears, tell us about them. I know they're a very competitive team in the Pac-12.
Wilcox, I think he's a great coach. They also have good quarterback play with Chase Garbers. And, when he's playing for their offense actually works, and they can score, and then defense. So when he's been playing, they're one of the best teams in the Pac-12 the past 2 years. But they lose every game essentially, and they can't score. So the key to them is just keeping him healthy. I think they're going to be really good this year. I think that the winner of the UW-Cal game this Saturday will have the inside track on being the second best Pac-12 team, and maybe can upset Oregon and get to that Pac-12 North title. So that's going to be a fun one to watch, and definitely curious to see. I love Chris Brown, the running back. He's massive. He's like 6'1", 235. Ran all over UW last year. He's a big physical presence. I think he's one of the more fun Pac-12 running backs to watch, and I think that he's going to have a big impact on this season in the Pac-12.
There you have it. That is our preview. I mean, that's Kent's preview of each team in depth when it comes to talent, coaches, and, of course, where they're at in the schedule. Now, let's go on to each part of the Pac-12 and see who will finish first to last. And let's start with the North. Kent, from like the very bottom to the top, how does it end up at the end of the season?
Very bottom, in the North, it's Wazoo or Oregon State probably at the bottom for me. I've been going back and forth on this. That's a tough one. I'll say Oregon State's at the bottom, but I'm not convinced. I don't feel fully convinced in that thought process. I think the whole North is actually pretty good, and so putting them last, I don't necessarily think they're the worst team in the Pac-12 by any means, but I'll probably put Oregon State last. And then at the 5 spot, I would put Wazoo. 4 spot, I think that'd be Stanford there. 3 spot, again, it's a toss-up here between UW and Cal. I've been going back and forth on that one too. I'll go UW at the 3 spot, Cal at the 2 spot, Oregon at the 1 spot. And then if we move to the South, I would say number 6, probably Arizona, 5 Colorado, 4 spot there. I'll probably say UCLA, 3 Utah, 2 ASU, and then 1 USC. So we get a Pac-12 matchup of USC and Oregon in the championship.
And who are your top 3 players that will impact the Pac-12 this season?
That's a good question. Would it be along the lines of the best players, or more some like how Oregon's quarterback plays?
The best players.
Best players. Yeah, that's also a really good question. I think that, different players have different abilities to impact a game. I think the quarterback position, control of what happens at Slovis at USC, I would put number 1. I think that his play can make a huge impact. I think he makes the USC team run key to their success this year. I think number 2, I'd say Jaden Daniels at ASU. I think that he is a very talented quarterback and should create a lot for them. Number 3, that's tough. Maybe Kayvon Thibodeau. I think that he could be pretty special this year. If he can create some havoc off the edge, that could really bolster that Duck defense. And he was really fun to watch last year. So I would say he's probably my number 3 in terms of someone who can really impact the game and make things difficult for the opposing team.
So, it seems like the talent pool is pretty good this year. Tell us who will be at the Pac-12 championship game this season.
Yeah, I think USC and Oregon, and I would pick Oregon to win that matchup, but it's going to be a really fun one. I think both teams have a ton of NFL talent. I think Oregon's coaching edge is what gives them the advantage. So definitely think the Ducks are going to pull out the title this year.
Will a Pac-12 team make it to the playoffs?
It's a good question. It's been interesting to watch this year. Big 12's had some struggles. I think the Big 12's probably out. But the question to me is, will the ACC maybe get 2 teams, or SEC? I'll say the Pac-12 does not get in, actually. I think that I don't know if they're playing enough games that's going to give them enough respect to get to that point. I think that the past few years, Pac-12 has kind of lost that respect nationally. So even if a team goes 7-0, I think there's a good chance that maybe like a Clemson team with 1 loss, if they were to lose to Notre Dame this weekend, they would get in still over the Pac-12. I don't think the Pac-12 just kind of built that brand yet. So I'll say no. I'll say they don't get in.
Yeah, that's something that I was thinking about when I first heard the news of Trevor Lawrence getting COVID and not be able to play for 2 games, that there is a chance that Clemson could lose, and that could open up a door for the Pac-12 winner. But of course, there's a lot of different variables we're looking at. SEC is stacked, and there could be 2 SEC teams going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just wondered, if Clemson was to lose, I think people without Trevor Lawrence playing, that they might just put Notre Dame and Clemson in. And then, 1-loss SEC team, I think, is going to get more respect than a Pac-12 team with no losses. And maybe that's deserved. Pac-12 hasn't really impressed on the national stage in a while, and they don't really seem to win the big bowl game. So, I don't know, without having a non-schedule this year, it's going to be really hard for people to think the Pac-12's worthy of that playoff spot. I mean, ideally they would expand the playoff this year with the limited sample sizes that we have in terms of non-conference games, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. So at the time being, I don't think Pac-12 is going to make it in.
It'll be a great year to experiment in a expanded playoffs. It'll be great to see, but no word on that. And yes, I think it should be an interesting year with COVID. Tell us about what are the rules with the Pac-12 and COVID. I know that each conference is different. I know one of the compromise was to have testing every day. I believe rapid testing. I know that in the Big Ten, if one player gets contracts COVID, he is out for 2 weeks. What are the rules for COVID in the Pac-12?
So the Pac-12 published a rule to have at least 53 scholarship players to be able to play a game. So if you were to fall below that, then you'd have to cancel the game. And it even breaks down by like position group and things like that. So you can go even further into it. I don't know that off the top of my head on the details of it, but there's rules like you have to have a minimum amount of offensive linemen, quarterbacks, things like that. You can't just like have all your quarterbacks out and still play a game. So that's the big one. And then they are doing testing consistently. You have to be able to perform contact tracing, things like that. But the big one is just the cancellation rule is if you don't have 53 players eligible, then you have to cancel the game, which we have seen in like other conferences too. So hopefully it doesn't get to that point though.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes with the Pac-12. I know some like the Big Ten feels like it's the most strenuous of all of them. But hopefully that will not be the case for the Pac-12. Hopefully we'll have a good, healthy season. Before we head into predictions, will there be fans in the stadiums for the Pac-12?
That's like state by state, you know, generally, but Pac-12, no teams having fans this year, so that could still be up to change. And a lot of it is based on the governors of each state and what they apply. So we'll kind of have to wait to see on that. But at the moment, no fans affected first weekend.
Quite interesting. Great to see. And the 9 a.m., are you in favor of a early schedule for the Pac-12 rather than the late night games?
You know, I'm definitely in like the wait and see mode of it. I think it'll be fun to watch, you know, on Saturday 9 a.m. You know, games kind of cool, but I wouldn't want to attend a game at 9 a.m. I mean, that's way too early to have a chance to tailgate or do anything like that, right? So, you know, from a TV watching perspective, I think it's fine. Let's see how the quality of play is. You know, players might be pretty tired. I mean, they're waking up at like 4 a.m. To have that game be played. So, you know, hopefully we're gonna get a good level of play and not have a bunch of tired players. So it's definitely a wait and see to see the kind of quality play that comes out of it. And I wouldn't necessarily want it going forward once there's fans back in the stadium, because I think that it is a kind of, I mean, I think that tailgating for fans is a huge part of the game, and you lose that having a 9 a.m. game. So I would say that going forward, I would probably be against it.
It would be cool. Would be good for East Coast ratings, but of course, it'll be competing against the other big conferences. So looking forward to see those numbers, see how it is with TV ratings.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, the nice part of the 7 p.m. slot is they don't have much competition, but the negative is that a lot of people aren't even watching. So, you know, whereas 9 a.m., there's lots of eyeballs, but there's lots of competition.
Morning
so
breakfast.
It may end up, you know, breaking even, you know, in terms of ratings, may not make a difference. Or maybe it's worth. We'll see.
We'll see. Pac-12 is usually on the Big Fox network. Let's go into week 1 predictions. Let's start with Arizona State at USC. Who you got, Kent?
Yeah, USC. I think that USC pulls this game out. I think it's going to be close. I have enough faith in staff. I think that ASU is better coached, but I think that USC talent advantage is going to be enough. I'll say that USC pulls this one out, kind of a defensive battle a little bit. I think they'll win 24-21.
Arizona versus Utah.
For Arizona, I don't think it's a good matchup for Arizona. I think, honest, maybe Arizona can surprise us, against Utah. Reports out of the Utah training camp that so maybe Grant can happen, but my initial thought is that Utah's just kind of run the ball, control the clock. I think Utah won 17.
UCLA versus Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I think that these teams matched, and the game being in Colorado is an edge for Colorado. I think UCLA barely wins this game. I'll say something like 33-30, but it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be one of the more closer games this weekend.
That should be an interesting matchup. Stanford at the Oregon Ducks.
This is going to be a fun one too. I think that we don't really know what to expect with Stanford or Oregon at the quarterback position. So I think Oregon could have a little bit of a slow start in game one. The smart move for them would be to rely on their running game. And I think Oregon's definitely going to win this game, but the question is by how much. It may be closer than people think. I would say Oregon 27, Stanford 17.
Quite interesting. Good to see Mario Cristobal back in the field. Washington Huskies at California Bears.
This is probably the most competitive game of the weekend, and this is the one I've gone back and forth on the most in terms of who's going to win this game. And this is why it's really hard to rank these two teams when you're thinking about the North. I think that Washington has more talent top to bottom, and it's not even close, I would say. But California has great scheme and more experience and maybe the better coaching staff. So, I think that Jimmy Lake's unproven at this point, while Wilcox is more proven. I think both teams have very good defenses. I think UW's better at defense. I think that Cal's offense is going to be better. This is going to be kind of just a really close game, probably low scoring, with the kind of mediocre offenses going against really good defenses. It's hard to say. I mean, I might go. I think I'll say Huskies 17, Cal 14. But I mean, I've gone back and forth on this one all week. So honestly, my opinion might change tomorrow on this one. So it's tough. I think that UW's talent advantage might give them a slight edge. And UW's done a lot of tackling drills in practice this week. So I think that maybe we've seen teams, tackling and miss a lot of tackles. I think Huskies have done a lot of that. So I think their defense kind of holds strong and win.
I will make sure to watch out for the game this weekend. Finally, the Cougars at the Beavers.
This should be a fun one on offense. Both teams don't have great defense, but do have some fun, explosive skill players. So this will be a really close game. I think that Oregon State's going to win this one. I'll say Oregon State pulls it out with I'll say 34-27 win.
24. Awesome. This is great.
34-27 win. Yep.
34-27. And it feels like you are eyeing one game. I think it was one game that you were kind of going back and forth. I think it was Washington, California, right?
Yeah, I think that one's tough for me to call, to be honest, but I'll say Huskies win 17-14.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll definitely look at that. I've been hearing other pundits saying the same thing, so looking forward to the Pac-12 opening weekend. This weekend starting Saturday. It's going to be very visible for the East Coasters. Yes, you can watch it, but instead of 10:30 at night, you can watch it at 12 p.m. during lunchtime. So definitely looking at the Pac-12, and I'm hoping that the Pac-12 will be competitive and able to go to the playoffs this year, Kent.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that we can have a Pac-12 team in the playoff this year. It's been a long time since we've had that. It's been since 2016. So it's definitely, due to have a Pac-12 team play on the big stage. So hoping that can happen. Hopefully we get some good matchups this year, some fun games, hopefully a high quality of play, and that everyone's ready to kind of have a full slate of games again. So I think it's one of the best aspects of college football is when you just have a Saturday and it's just, 70 games going on in one day. You turn on the TV and there's like 7 games going at once. I think that's what everyone looks forward to most. So having the Pac-12 back, I think, is definitely a nice addition for a lot of fans.
College football, yeah.
Pac-12 fan.
College football is in full swing once the Pac-12's in. So I'm really glad to see you guys back, and I'm glad that you guys didn't postpone your season until next spring.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been an awful idea, and I was very opposed to having the spring season. I think that's just like a stupid idea, frankly. And I think that no one would have watched, to be honest, meaning if everyone's already played the playoff and things like that. So it's good they made it happen in the fall. And it's nice that we finally are going to have like a kind of back to a normal college football season, having everyone playing again.
Exactly. Kent, what is the best way to reach you, and tell us about your website and how can people go to that website?
Yeah, so definitely find us on Twitter, CFB. Again, that's West Coast CFB. Lots of great stats, highlights, analysis. You should definitely be entertained if you enjoy college football, or especially if you're a Pac Mountain West fan. Definitely take a look at our website. It's westcoastcfb.com, and there's a lot of great articles that will kind of give you information on the Pac-12 and Mountain West and Big Sky. So definitely take a look at the website, check out some articles. It's free, which is awesome. And you'll definitely get a good rundown on your team before the Saturday. And or if you're just a national fan and you want to get an idea of how the Pac-12 looks, just take a look at the website and you'll get a good idea. Definitely
check out the website. I checked it out. It's pretty awesome, clean, great content, and they have writers from and all over like the West Coast. So very, very informed. If you can't, if you want a alternative, go there, check it out. Give us a quick recap on the Mountain West. How's it doing so far?
Yeah, Mountain West has been pretty fun to watch. I think that Boise State, again, looks like the class of the conference. San Diego State should be a threat. San Jose State has even had some surprising wins so far. So definitely keep an eye out for them. But I definitely think that Boise State is your favorite once again, which is nothing really new to most fans. Boise State is kind of the class of the Mountain West. So check out their games too. Check out Boise State. And they might end up in a NY6 game, so should be fun to see them this weekend. This Friday, actually, they're playing BYU, so that's gonna be one of the best games of the weekend. BYU is ranked number 9, and Boise State is number 21. So both teams actually have a chance, at making it. Actually, so if you're looking for a fun game on Friday night, that's the game to watch, and that actually might be the best game of the entire weekend on the West Coast.
A lot of good games going on with college football. Definitely looking forward to it. And, of course, you can follow us along on our Twitter at the Sportscast1 or on the website, thesportscast.net. Check out our app, the Sportscast app, for iPhone, iOS. You get the latest and greatest. You get notifications of the latest podcast coming in and also the latest article. We'll have more Pac-12 coverage this week and looking forward to this weekend. Really happy to have Kent. Kent, thank you so much for the information, this preview. I am well more knowledge now than I was like 2 hours ago.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on. It's fun to talk Pac-12 football and Mountain West football. Definitely hope that the listeners, got some information on the Pac-12, especially fans that, may not have been Pac-12 fans to begin with. Give you a good rundown before the weekend's games, and hopefully you'll kind of go into those games with a little more knowledge of how the Pac-12 looks.
Pac-12 in full swing. College football is in full swing now. Ken, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.